And when my mother was on that show, do you know what I had to deal with, Shannon?
What's that?
I would be in the store, and I would have elderly women coming up to me, and they would say, your mama ain't shit.
Wow.
Now, they wasn't lying, Shannon, okay? They wasn't lying, baby. Sometimes you gotta let the truth be the goddamn truth.
Y'all know you can't get blood from a turnip, right? I was sitting here thinking about the situation with Monique and her oldest son, Shalon. And when I say you can't get blood from a turnip, Monique, by her own accounts, was molested by her brother. Parents knew about it, did nothing about it.
Do you want to be here today, Gerald?
I'm here today to first acknowledge what I've been in denial for 37 years. And that is, I did assault and inappropriately touch my sister in manners that were not comfortable for her. And for that, I apologize, and I'm humbly sorry.
2 years ago, Monique revealed she had been molested by her brother and used that pain to give her Oscar-winning performance in Precious.
Some may think that you're only doing this to get into the good graces of your sister now because she has an Academy Award.
Now, I'm doing this to apologize to my sister, to hopefully bring back some family unity.
As for their relationship now, Monique recently told Barbara Walters there is none.
Did your brother ever apologize to you?
The apology that I got from my brother is, if you think I did something wrong.
She then went on to cut off all ties with her entire family.
My relationship now with my family, they're my biological family, and I wish them well. Here's the thing. I watched you do I think it was like a little clip, and they were talking about interracial dating.
Yes.
And you said, why would somebody stay where they're miserable?
Right.
That applies everywhere, Shannon.
Oh, okay.
It just doesn't apply to that, especially in our community. We've been taught, take care of the family, make sure. Well, there are some families that deserve it, and there are some families that you have to say, listen, I'm so glad we had this time together. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Yeah. That's where I am with mine. I wish all of them the best, but that's what it is. Yeah. So even as I sit here with you now, with all that's going on in Hollywood and all of the stuff I had to go through, I've already been through it with people that you call your family. And I have to say, you know what? That has to just wash off when I know what I'm standing in and what I'm standing on.
And here it is. She has this baby that I do believe in the beginning she wanted a better life for. She goes out on the road and she becomes intoxicated with being out on the road, gaining fame and popularity.
You know, there was a time, and I have a son that will be 30 years old this year, right? And there was a time that when he was a little boy, I wasn't interested in being a mother. I was interested in being a star. And I was interested in being famous. And I wasn't interested in being a wife. I was interested in taking pictures and red carpets and signing autographs and traveling the world. So I didn't really put the focus in. And now that I'm 52 and he'll be 30, well, I pay for that. There's a price you have to pay for that. And I had to apologize to my son because I said to him, I don't want you to think that your story is not valid because I didn't tuck you in. I didn't read you those stories. I didn't show up at sporting events. Because my whole thing was, yeah, but whatever you ask for, I can provide it. You see this big house? You see that basketball court out back? You see that pool? Don't you come complaining to me about nothing, because I gotta go. And when I did come home, now I'm tired. So now you don't understand that? So there was a time that this entertainment was the priority. Because as a little girl, I wanted to be famous, baby. When I saw the Jacksons and I saw how the people were screaming, holler, oh my God, David, I craved that so bad. And I wanted to be dressed up pretty. I like pretty shit. I wanted to be dressed up in pretty things. So when that moment happened, that's all that it was.
And she probably was in a position to where she had never felt this way before, by her own accounts as well. She said that, she wasn't the most popular growing up. She was the child that was overlooked. She was in special education classes. And now she gets out on the road and she's gaining all this popularity. Now she doesn't want to have nothing to do with her old life, including being a parent. And while that's heartbreaking for Shalon and...
I am Shalon. I am a stand-up comedian, Monique's oldest son. I guess I felt the need to make this video to just provide some context into this false narrative about her praying to the universe in order to reconcile our relationship or whatever the hell it is. I wrote it all down so that way I don't go all over the place and get emotional or anything like that. So I'm going to talk like I'm reading a script, but it's just going to help me kind of stay together. to address the Club Shay interview that she did, where she states that she prays to the universe in regards to reconciling our relationship, as I stated, is odd. My mother and I both know that that is a very false narrative, and I would like to free her of having to continue telling that lie. Faith without work is dead, and neither one of us cares to put forth any effort to reconcile with the other. We are separate, as she put it, because she doesn't care to be my mother any more than I care to be her son. Neither one of us has had the desire to reach out to the other in a very long time, and I don't think that either of us anticipates that feeling ever returning.
And I hate that he had to experience that. You can't expect for someone with all of that baggage just to hop into the position of being a nurturer just because she got pregnant and had a child. We would like to think the moment a woman gets pregnant that all of a sudden she becomes this loving, nurturing being. And that's just not true for some women. Some women are not innately nurturers the same way some men are not innately protectors. And it just is what it is. The only thing that I can say, and this is in no way in defense of Monique being a bad parent, but the only thing that I can say is Shalon does have, you know, a living father. Not sure what the relationship is there, but his father does exist. And by Shalon's account, he did have motherly figures in his life that kind of took the place of Monique.
There are still women to this day that my mother will give credit to for being more of a mother to me than she ever could. Her assistant, my cousin, being one of them.
Now, was it the same as having, you know, his mom in his life in the way in which he wanted it? No, but some kids don't have anybody. Some kids are put in foster care and they're there until they turn 18 and then they're out on their own and just in this world alone. And I know that Shalon is hurting. I know that he wants a relationship with his mother, and hopefully they can have that in the future. But I do believe that there was a time, I don't know when, but I do believe that there was a time that Monique probably did try to fix things with Shalon. And
putting the work into becoming Monique is more important to my mother than being my mother. And I do not believe that it was never about her being there and waiting for me, but it was supposed to be about me being there and waiting for her. My mother's value had reached such a low point in my life that I no longer found it necessary to either want to wait for her or even go to her.
And sometimes kids are not in a position right at that very moment to accept an apology and move on and try to work towards a better relationship. Sometimes kids are not going to feel better until that parent hurts as much as they felt like they hurt. And the unfortunate part is some parents give up. Some parents say, you know what? It's nothing more that I can do. If this child wants a relationship with me, then they will have to reach out to me because I've done all that I can do. And I saw a little bit of Shalon's live this morning. He went live and somebody asked him his horoscope, and he is a Cancer. He is more emotional than most. And so I really get it. I get what he is going through. I get how he feels, but I think if he's waiting on his mom to be a certain type of way, that's probably never going to happen. Now, is she a better mom to the kids that she currently has? I would imagine so. She said that Sydney, while, you know, people have their own views about Sydney, that he helped in raising her to be a better woman.
And a lot of Black women would say, why do you call him daddy? Because he's raising me. He's raising me. My father probably stopped giving me what I needed when I was around 13 years old. So now you got a woman that's 13, and now I'm 35, and now I got a bunch of money, what we consider to be a bunch of money. Let me just be real clear about that, okay? Now I got this money. Now I'm taking care of everybody. Who gonna check me, boo? Who gonna make me grow up? But when that man, when we were just best friends, and when we got together, this is what he said to me. He said, when we were best friends and you were married to other men, you were not my responsibility. You were my sister, but not my responsibility. As my wife, you are my responsibility.
So because of that, she's probably a better mother to her other kids. But I will say this, I hope that they're able to mend their relationship on some type of level, whether that's just being, you know, friendly with one another. But both sides have got to stop sending mixed messages. I think with Shalon, Shalon has to stop discounting the fact that his mom has helped him financially by saying that, you know, she just wants to throw her money around, this, that, and the third. Well, that may be true to a certain degree, but if you accept the money, then you cannot look at her in a bad way without looking at yourself in a bad way.
To address money, you gave me $10,000 for a down payment on a car. Yes, thank you again. Thank you. My girlfriend and I were already prepared to put our money together and get a car. You and your husband called us one day and stated that y'all were going to give us $5,000 for a down payment. We said, okay. You then called us back a day or two later and stated that you would be giving us $10,000 for a down payment on the car. You and him made the conscious choice to give us that money. We did not ask you for anything, but this is an example of a rich person doing something for you, and because this is, an example of a rich person doing something for you because they want to do it for you, but because it doesn't have the desired effect that they want it to have, you are inconsiderate and ungrateful. But let's take it a step further. I eventually would uncover that my mother had left me a UTMA worth $45,000. You never brought that account to my attention. You claim it was because you forgot that you even set it up in the first place, which validates my original point. Who forgets that they invested $45,000 into a child that at that time is the only child? When I was homeless, and I called you to help me figure out how to access the account, you said, Shalon, I don't even know what you're talking about, and if I did, why do you think I would help you? After finding out from the Georgia Department of Revenue that they had been sending me mail to 3 separate Georgia addresses, all of which I lived at with you at some point or another. For the life of me, I can't grasp how those letters managed to slip by so many people at 3 different locations. I did, however, eventually get access to the money and the brokerage account that you had set up for me with Morgan Stanley. To be fair, what you put together for me was amazing, especially had I let it sit for a year or two, which made it bittersweet that you wouldn't have wanted to help or even educate me on how to manage what I had. My blowing through that money is all on me, and I have to take my accountability for that, and it's a lesson learned.
And as it relates to Monique and Sydney, I know that their brand is, we're not calling them out, we're calling them up. I think there's a line that you've got to draw when it comes to calling people up, and especially when it relates to a family member, because the world didn't need to know Shalon's mental health.
Of the challenges that this young brother has had with mental illness. So we're communicating that out loud to speak to our community, to say, listen, y'all, if we have more public conversations, there will be less private angst.
Come on.
There will be less private issues that we carry on because we're afraid to communicate in front of white folks.
Neither of you should never speak on mental health again if you thought that that idea was a good one. As a person who lives with mental health issues, let me be the first to educate you that there are individuals who have taken their lives, harmed, and also taken the lives of others for doing the very thing that you so proudly did and your fan base pats you on the back for, which is very telling to how strangers will buy into your toxicity. Picking up the phone to check on your son that you believe is having a mental episode to make sure that he is okay, while also making sure that your granddaughter is safe, is too much to ask, I guess. For those wondering, I have gone to therapy on several different occasions, and that is not something that I will ever be ashamed of. I have even gone to therapy with my mother on several occasions. But for those who know how efficient therapy only works when both people are being open. My mother was still in her 15-year-old mentality phase during that time, so I guess I understand why she did not know how to be open with me during our sessions.
The world didn't need to know that, he was working on his credit. Monique released that in the text messages that she sent. We don't need to know all of these gory details because you're not doing it from a place of love. That was from a place of trying to discredit him because you felt like he shouldn't have come out and went live on TikTok. And I agree with that as well. I think all of this should have been handled behind closed doors, especially if the end result was going to be that they're both in a place where they're not going to have a relationship with each other. It's no reason to even bring it out, on a social media platform. But anyways, all that being said, hopefully this is the end of this. And if they are to rectify their situation, they'll rectify it offline.
So I had to accept the fact that my father was a motherfucking alcoholic and really didn't give a fuck about his family. I had to accept the fact that my mother was a goddamn gambler and would gamble away any motherfucking thing. I had to accept the fact that my oldest brother was a goddamn molester. I had to accept the fact that my other brother signed my name to motherfucking documents and fuck with my reputation. I don't judge it, it's just what the fuck it is. So it allowed me to accept when people were telling me what I wasn't. When motherfuckers told me, you're no Dave Chappelle, you're no Amy Schumer, you're no Chris Rock, them motherfuckers was right. Because my name is Monique.